This session is about why so many people who become vegetarian or vegan go back to eating meat. Right? It's pretty common, and it's kind of interesting, why they do it. And there's a lot of different reasons. So let's get right to it. So just quickly about your presenter. So I've been vegan for way too long, 35 years, and I've studied psychology in college and then went into marketing, and so I've spent decades studying how do people make decisions. How do they actually process information and do things, and a bunch of other things. And first thing you got to remember is, people are real and people are complex, and they do things for different reasons, and they do things for reasons that are different from what you do. So, before we talk about why vegetarians and vegans often go back to eating meat, let's just talk briefly, a little primer about what people use to choose what to buy in the first place. So most people do not have a grand ethical scheme for why they're eating what they're eating. Their taste, what they decide what to buy is based on, does it taste good? Can I afford it? Can I find it? Is it convenient? That's the main three drivers for most people about what they eat. It's not about some ethics or science or the environmental cause. These are the basics. And if you're a vegetarian or vegan, these are probably what drive you as well, although it's in the framework of, well, I'm not going to eat meat. But then if I'm not going to eat meat, I still want something that tastes good, doesn't cost too much, and I can find it without having to go all to the Berkeley Bowl, to go get it. So most people don't think about food as much as vegetarian people do. They just don't. That's the reality. All right. The other thing we remember about food is taste, which drives what we buy, what we eat, is learned. Right? We are taught what to eat at an early age. We are taught that meat is good. We develop a taste for it. And for all you that were babies, you probably had Gerber's peas and turkey shoveled in your mouth when you were 1 year old, and you had no choice in the matter. So it's there. And you learned a lot of foods around the dinner table. You have good feelings with your mom. Apple pie or, certain dish. In fact, if you think about it, think of the favorite dish growing up that you had that was vegetarian, or the main dish, was vegetarian, not a side dish. Well, you have one. What'd you have?
I have to make, it was white beans with Swiss chard.
White beans with Swiss chard, some kind of main dish, with that. Yay!
That's just
for a while, we don't grow up vegan, and so we like what we're fed. And what's part of our culture, what's part of our heritage, and so it's not food. I mean, when you're vegan, you think food is everything, but it's like for a lot of people, food is not. It's like experiences. It's family. It's about being together and supporting each other that way. And so food is a big, touchy, emotional issue for a lot of people. And for those of you that have tried going vegetarian or been vegan for a while, when you bring it up, everyone freaks out, and don't want to talk about it, or they start asking you all these questions, So another thing we have to be aware of, particularly in the United States, is so much of the food is not just the ultra-processed, not just the Twinkies and that kind of crap, but, sausage and these other meats. These things are scientifically engineered to trigger your bliss point, your brain circuitry, practically fireworks going off. And so food becomes addicting. These foods that you get accustomed to eating as a kid, you're still thinking about them. You're still, that experience. And you don't get that way eating a carrot. You eat a carrot, you don't have fireworks going off, right? But, so this is another thing we're battling. It's just that, hey, food has been engineered to be just irresistible. And it's the bad food and the meaty foods and the oily and the fatty foods that tend to be, or the sweet foods tend to be really irresistible. So in this context where most people just look for buying food, how much is, does it taste good? How much does it cost? Is it convenient to get? And they learn to love meat and all these dishes. Yeah, I've been vegan for 35 plus years, but what did I do before that? Like everyone else, right? You ate normal. But now, so what are the main 3 reasons that
Teenager, but
to go to a veg diet? What are the 3 main reasons? Health comes up. What else? The animals, the ethics around the animals. Environment. Oh, you guys all win. Animals, ethics, environment. Okay, so in fact, the research shows that those are the big 3 that most people will cite for trying a vegan or vegetarian diet. For a vegetarian diet, it tends to be health. This tends to be the #1 motivator for doing it, followed by animal welfare, followed by some environmental concerns, and then other. And then other is, well, my spouse or a partner or someone I want to date is vegan or vegetarian, so I got to change if I want to be with them. Or there's a lot of things in that other category, right? A lot of things. But health tends to be the #1 thing that veg people drive. From the vegan side, tends to be dominated by animal welfare angle, and it spreads to not just what you eat, but the clothes you buy and what you wear and cosmetics and things like that. It's not just a diet; it's a lifestyle. But it doesn't have to be. But it's and then health and environment. But the interesting thing is, most people are gradual. Most people who become vegan, 80% of them were vegetarians first. Right? And so, because they kind of moved into first, it's like, okay, I'm going to give up meat for whatever reason. I'm dating someone. I'm concerned about my health. I'm trying to reverse coronary heart disease or diabetes or some other thing that giving up meat and dairy will help with. And then now you're giving up meat, now you're open to learning more. Now you're not going to be so worried about seeing slaughterhouse footage or some other statistics that might make you uncomfortable. So once you're already on the vegetarian path, it's easy to learn more and then go full vegan and everything. And how many people have actually made the plunge and actually are vegetarian or vegan in the U.S.? I have brand new data. What percentage?
Maybe about 5 or 6%.
5 or 6? What were you guessing? 3%? 3%? Okay, here we go. So the latest, it's depressing. Come on, vegan. We're down to 1%. July 2023 data. It's from Gallup. So vegans are down to just a single percentage point here in the country. Vegetarians are 4%. So that's only 5% of the population. 95% of the population. So if you're vegan, you're the odd man out. There's everyone else eating meat, having a great time. But very small thing. There's also notice that everyone says, oh, vegetarianism, vegan, it's growing like crazy. Interest in it is growing like crazy. Searches on Google are up 540%. But people actually saying, I eat that way, has decreased. In doing some research in this area, I don't have hard data, I haven't run a study yet, but to hear also the pandemic. And a lot of people were locked at home, out of the house, couldn't get out with their friends or do other things. And there was COVID going around and the politics were weird. And it was like, screw it. I'm going some comfort. Right? Plus I'm just at home. No one sees what I look like anywhere. I'll put on some weight. The COVID 15, right? Into this, now we're kind of past the pandemic mostly. So this will pick 10 as education and more events like this happen. But it is a depressingly small number. And if you're in this crew, thank you for being in that crew, but you got to find friends. You're going to need support. What's that? I can't hear you. In 28, 2%. Yeah, 2%. So peaked at 2%, down to 1%. So I think COVID, pandemic had a lot of dynamics around that had to do with it. But hopefully we can reverse that. So of these people that try a vegetarian or vegan diet, this is the stats, folks. This is the reality. 84% go back to eating meat. Maybe not permanently. Maybe they just become omnivores or flexitarians or reducitarians. But 84% of people that jump the veggie pool jump out of the veggie pool, and usually pretty quickly. And so this is when I was doing a lot of research around this surprised me. I know everyone has friends that were vegetarian or vegan and now are not, cite various reasons, and I'll show you what the research. But it's a surprisingly large number. So if you know some people and you have some friends who were veg and they're now not, it's okay. There's, and you got some info on why they might have done it and how you can help them here. But it's a large group. So here is the main data. So the number one reason cited for eating meat again is because people wanted to eat meat again. No surprise, right? You grew up eating it, you loved it, it was great, reminds you of home, all that kind of thing. But they were unsatisfied with the vegan food options or the vegetarian food options. So the number one reason is remember, our number one driver for food is taste. Has to taste good, has to not cost too much, had to be able to convenient. But they just weren't satisfied with the food. So it wasn't some big moral choice, it wasn't some big crazy thing. Maybe they were doing it for their health. And they didn't like the food. They didn't know enough about what to make or where to find it. Totally understandable. The number two reason, second most common reason for eating meat again, is just concern about your health and nutrition. And this is really common, particularly with younger people, teenagers, who don't maybe, or younger, let's say 20-somethings, maybe we don't have good food choices already, eating a lot of fast food, junk food, things like that. Oh, I'm gonna go vegetarian. Okay, so they don't eat meat anymore, but they're still eating junk food and fast food and French fries and potato chips and, processed crap. So they don't feel so good, right? And they took the meat off, and so they're not getting as much calories now or whatever. And they haven't learned that you got to eat more. When you're a vegetarian and vegan, you got to eat a lot of food, a big salad, not a little salad, So number one is people didn't like the food, so I'm gonna get back to meat. Number two is health and nutrition concerns, which also in our environment, everyone, like all the industry jargon, all the stuff coming out that says, oh, you need protein, or you need this, and it's like, come on, there's protein in everything. You're hard pressed to not get enough protein. These ones, though, I think these play a much, much bigger role than even came up in the study. These are number 3 and 4 in most of this data is from Faunalytics, by the way, if you guys are familiar with them. Social pressures, societal pressures, and just having lack of support. Like if you're trying to go veg, but your partner or your family is not, and you're the one person out, it's tough, right? So there's, people are always they want you back in the meat crowd. Because you know how it is, like, I've got things coming up in about a month, and the vegetarian in the family or going to the gathering, you make everyone uncomfortable. Just you being there makes them uncomfortable because it's weird. So people pressure you to just try something, come on, get back in the regular club, be normal. And so not having supportive friends or a spouse or family, not having a meetup group or an online group to support you in that effort, it makes things tough. And so I know a lot of people, it's like they're the only person in town that they know that's vegetarian. It's different here in the Bay Area, but places are more remote and they don't know anyone. And there's no vegan restaurants in town. There's nothing. So, and that's the inconvenience. They cite inconvenience. Where can I find food? Not everyone lives in an area like this where you can get any kind of vegan cheese and restaurants and healthy organic food. You live in a food desert, you're going to have to drive 10 miles to go find a real supermarket and get some of the goods that we take for granted. So it is inconvenient, and it's also like, you go to a or you have an office function, And it's like now you gotta find out what are the ingredients in this stuff, and it's just a hassle. So you could probably say the word hassle for convenience. It's just a hassle to be vegan and vegetarian in a world where 95% of the people and norm is just eat meat, right? Cost comes in a lot. And I know all you who are vegetarian or vegan, you're always going, no, it doesn't have to cost more. And, oh, in fact, it's cheaper. You can soak your own beans overnight and do all of that. You know, come on, no one does that. But I do sometimes, I admit. But it's a factor because the thing is that most of the vegetarian foods, the vegan foods, these are made by smaller companies with no government subsidies. They have no underwriting. They don't get the billions of dollars that Big Ag and Monsanto and Tyson get from the Farm Bill, right? So that's what makes chicken and beef and all these things so darn cheap, government subsidies, plus the scale that they operate at and a bunch of other things. So if you're going to go chicken or vegan, or head that way, and then get meat substitutes like Impossible Burger, Beyond Burger, vegan cheese, they're all great products. They're expensive. I mean, you know, I only make it a special treat. Once every 2 months do I have an Impossible Burger. It's just so expensive. So I get it. Now, that's only if I eat the substitute stuff. The smarter thing to do is just make real food. You know, make chili. You know, make salads. Make pasta. You know, you don't have to buy the expensive meat stuff. But if you are a regular meat eater, like normal person, and now you are looking at going into the veg world, yeah, use those. You know, get the meat substitutes. Try it at first. Use it as a transition thing. Think of it as like smoking. You know, you get the patch or the gum. It's just to help you, get that way. So think of these Impossible Burgers and meat things. It's a good transition or as a special treat. So if you make that your standard way, it's going to get costly. And people complain. And then people just lose their motivation. Like maybe you and your spouse broke up, and then it's like, well, okay, well they were vegan. I don't need to do this anymore. Or just lost motivation. I wasn't feeling better, or I didn't have enough information to defend my decisions against the onset. Nutrition questions you get, and I can answer anything you want to know about nutrition, but one key thing to remember when we talk about why do so many vegetarians and vegans go back to eating meat, that more than half of the people had with one prime motivator, and that was health. And if they didn't feel health benefits in the first few weeks or months, and they didn't like the food much, and it was costing them more, and their families hassling them, no wonder 84% go back to old habits. Those old habits die hard. Right? There's also a couple other things that explain or factor into why 84% of people that go then later on go back to eating meat. And this is a really important one. We transition too quickly. A lot of people see a documentary, read a book, get fired up, see some slaughterhouse footage on YouTube. That's gross. And they go vegetarian like in days or weeks, something sudden. They don't yet know what to make instead of the fish or the beef or whatever it is they have in the middle. They don't know what to make yet. They don't know where to buy it. They don't have friends that support them. They haven't learned, well, if I don't eat the regular way, what do I eat instead? And so a lot of people who transition to veg diet too quickly then bounce out. In fact, 2/3 of the people who go veg suddenly go back to eating meat. A much better approach is just reduce for a while. Become a reducitarian, then maybe a flexitarian, where you eat mostly plant-based diet, and then, okay, it's Thanksgiving, okay, have some turkey, whatever, eat just a little bit. And then when you go the final move to going pure veg or pure vegan, it's not a big deal. And you know what kind of foods to make, and you know where to buy them and how to prepare them. So if you just drop into the deep end of the pool, 64, 2/3 of the people that do that, and then, no, I'm not doing this veg thing. Plus, I wasn't feeling healthier because, they weren't eating the right foods. Yeah, so, another thing is to note is 1/3 of the people that start eating meat again do it in the first months. So they basically, yeah, just barely got into the veggie diet pool and then back out. I'm only doing it until it didn't feel good, all those hassles and it's expensive, and I'm out. And then over half of the people revert within about a year. So that only means, you know, a small subset actually stay with it for a long time, because you gotta learn some things. You gotta learn how to cook differently, cook better, eat better, and you gotta handle all the hassles and things that you gotta deal with there. And you gotta learn and get some support, you know. You gotta, if you're, this is one thing here, about 33% of people say, oh, I'm just trying a veg diet. My partner still eats meat, and a third of them go back to eating meat because the partner is not supporting them, right? So there. So you got to build up a support network with people. I'm doing Veg Fest. Meet some people. Talk to some people. Go online. There's some great vegan and vegetarian society meetup groups. You know, they meet at some of the cool restaurants here in the city and in the other cities. It's a great way to meet some people. I've gone to about half a dozen of these. Great people. You know, and what do you have? You have something in common. You know, let's talk about other good restaurants, or why do you go vegan or vegetarian? It's a great conversation starter, right? So find out, because everyone's got different reasons, even more than the big three. But it is kind of shocking that so many people who started back out, but it's not supported by society. And really, old habits do die hard. If you've been eating a certain way for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, it's hard to just kind of change stuff. So doing it gradually is really smart. If you want to stick with it, don't just leave Veg Fest and go, I'm vegan tomorrow. I wish you would, but I know it doesn't work that way in the real world. But if you want help doing that, on the little table here, we have free How to Go Vegan booklets on the green table back here. And actually, it's got great, of many good things in here. It's actually got a great substitutes guide about what are the different kinds of cheeses, vegan mayonnaises, it's a how-to guide. It's not a lecture, it's like actual pragmatic information. So we got free booklets back there on that. So, all right, so I got some good news. There's a lot of bad news there, and we can answer some questions on that. Here's the good news. Okay. A third of the people that slip, a third of the veggie people that go back to eating meat, over a third of them, they're interested. I'd like to get back in the veggie pool, right? And the health is the main motivator for a lot of these people. Because they know if I eat less meat, I can lose weight, I can, lower my chance of heart attack and cancer and diabetes. The word's out on that, So a lot of people that start eating meat again, back in. So let's help them. Let's help them. So here's what according to the research though, here's what former vegans or vegetarians, vegan or vegetarian, said they want in order to resume the diet. So it was a little different than I thought it might be, but this is what the research showed, is that just give me some good tasting food that's not a hassle to make or buy. Just food, good food. That was the dominant, 45%. I was like there. So obviously if you're trying to help someone back in being veggie again, offer them recipes, show them about good substitutes, talk about good restaurant options, just they're into the food, the taste. The other thing is motivation. Why should I do it again? Maybe they don't know enough about the latest research and health benefits of a whole foods, plant-based diet. Maybe they don't know, but they need the motivation. And so you got to help folks explore their why. Why were they interested in the first place? Why did they get into trying it? And why did they bounce out and start eating, meat again? So you give them some motivation. And then the social support and then the cost and health things, come in there. But the main thing is the food. They want tasty, convenient food. Guess what? They just want it too. They don't want to pay an arm or a leg for a special plant-based meat or something like that. So there. So I got two things here about that. So if you yourself are veg, or just you don't even identify as vegetarian or vegan, but you're eating as a diet mostly, and you feel yourself slipping, what do they say? Or what do they call this? Omnivore recidivism. Meaning you're an omnivore, which means you eat everything, plants and animals. You try to eat just plants. Oh, didn't like that so much, so you go back to eating plants and animals again. Okay, so the key thing is you got to find some motivation. Why even go back to a veg diet? So why is it? I mean, do you care about your health? People go, oh, I don't care, I'm not fat or whatever. There. If you're a little older, and it's not, your health impacts your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your whatever friend. It impacts me. I have 3 kids now grown. Like, I don't want to be a burden on them when I get older. I don't want to have cancer and diabetes or Alzheimer's, all these things which are largely preventable by a whole food, plant-based diet. I don't want, so health is not just a personal thing, but it impacts your family and your friends, and you don't want to be a burden on them. So, but you got to find your why. I also care a lot about the environment. I'm here at a booth talking about the environmental impact of animal agriculture and why the whole developed world needs to reduce meat consumption by 80 to 90%. I wish the whole world would go vegan. It doesn't work that way. But if we can drastically reduce consumption, we can improve a lot of our environmental ills. You got to find food, taste. It's kind of small print here, sorry about that. But you got to find foods that you really like. You got to experiment. Find textures and chewy and good stuff that you like. And this is a classic, give your body what it's asking for. Like, if you go veg, if you just drop meat and then you go veg, but you're not eating hearty, thick, good food, and you don't even know what those are in the veg world yet, you can go hungry, and you feel weak from hunger. You don't realize your salad's got to be bigger, your plate's got to be bigger. Here's one of the secrets, the cool thing about eating vegan or whole food plant-based diet. You can eat as much as you friggin' want. It's amazing. And craft beer. So it's, in fact, I often say I'm not a vegan, I'm a beeritarian, which is I eat a super healthy, whole foods, plant-based diet, and I make up for all those lost calories with good craft beer. And then I tell you, it's a winning formula, early 60s now, and I've never felt better. So, there, but you gotta eat enough food, and you gotta know where those foods are, what kind of foods have good fat content and things. Be patient with yourself. Don't be hard on yourself. It takes a while to break old habits, learn how to cook, things like that. You got to expand your cooking skills. For those of you who've been veg for a while, you probably have a really good chopping arm. You know how much time you spend just chopping vegetables and stuff? Oh God, it's great. And there's so many websites now, I can't even list them, out there. But in terms of recipe sites, I mean, I'm hungry. Just Google vegan chili. 100 recipes come up for vegan chili, and I love chili, so, or vegan this, or vegan cheese sauce. I'm a big mac and cheese fan, and there's like 20 different ways to make vegan mac and cheese that are phenomenal, and they're healthy, and they're just, it rocks. But, comfort foods, things that taste good, feel good. Get support from friends, learn about options in restaurants. And one thing, another people, a problem with the people who go vegetarian or vegan, they also sometimes go to extremes. They try a fruitarian diet, which is mostly exclusively fruit with a little bit of nuts and seeds. You go hungry, you lose a lot of weight that way, and you miss some key nutrients. Or they do the full raw food diet permanently. Cooking actually brings out a lot of the minerals and the bioavailability of the vitamins within foods. Cooking is a good thing. Raw foods are good too, salads and all kinds of other things are good, but cooking actually brings out a lot of good things in vegetables and legumes and things. And a lot of people try these crazy long fasts, and I'm going veg and I'm gonna fast and do all this stuff. And so yeah, of course you feel weak and feel lousy. So don't go to extremes. Okay, so this is about you. If you're already in the veg pool, or you're kind of feel yourself slipping out, or get tempted by the pizza, these are some of the things to kind of do and think about. And then, if you want to help others, remember, people are people, and they do things for their own reasons. And so, but help them find their whys. Why were they interested in the vegetarian diet in the first place? Why were they interested in giving up meat or dairy and egg, and help them find what that reason was. Help give them some motivation. Maybe they don't know about the environmental impact, or they don't know about all the diseases that are directly linked to meats. That, processed meats like hot dogs, bacon, ham, turkey, deli slices. Those are all class 1 carcinogens. It's a class 1 carcinogen, like with tobacco and asbestos. It's like, if you make a deli sandwich for your kids, send them off to school, you might as well give them a pack of cigarettes. I mean, it's the same cancer risk. It's horrible. So help people find their whys, offer practical tips on what to make, give them ideas. You know, people are mostly concerned about taste and food. They're concerned about the food, so give them some ideas on great, easy to make, tasty foods or some good substitutes. There's lots of substitutes. A lot of them are listed in this booklet here. Again, available back on the table for free. And encourage people to, you know, explore new options and, you know, get educated. Oh, about education and nutrition, I got to put a plug in for one site in particular. Dr. Michael Grieger runs a website free of charge, no corporate sponsorship, called nutritionfacts.org. It's that simple, nutritionfacts.org. You just go to that website, type inflammation or arthritis or plant protein or, you know, any topic you want. Turmeric, you know, I eat a lot of turmeric because it helps reduce, you know, arthritis inflammation. And it gives you gives you a 5-6 minute video with the absolute latest research, clinical research on that nutrition topic. No BS, no crap, no advertising, just the facts. I know Michael Greger spoke at one of these events, you know, years prior. Great guy. So yeah, you get educated about nutrition, that's a great site for it. Another way to help people resume or get back into the veggie pool, join them. Like if you're not veg yourself, you know, let's do a 30-day challenge together. You know, let's both go vegan for a month, or let's, you know, make it fun, make it a contest, you know, do something. So if you can do it, help them do it, that can go a long way. And really be patient and supportive. So again, if you have people that were veg, now they're eating meat again and it bugs the hell out of you. In fact, I have a friend, longtime friend, he's been vegetarian for a long time. I'm vegan, but my God, I can't get him to give up dairy. And it's like it bugs the crap out of me. Why? I don't know, but he's still my friend. So, but the thing is, you gotta avoid all or nothing thinking. You know, just because someone eats some meat again doesn't mean they're an asshole, and it doesn't mean they're the devil. It doesn't, you know, it's not my values, and I hope they can come back and see the light and join the veg, you know, club. But, you know, if you want them to come back and stick with it, it's okay to be flexitarian for a while. It's okay to eat mostly plants. A little bit of this here and there, like a Mediterranean diet. And then eventually cut that stuff out if you want the maximum health benefits. Ultimately, cut out all the meat. And definitely cut out the dairy. Dairy is basically deadly. I mean, it's for a baby calf, loaded with growth hormones. You don't want it in your system. So dairy, if I had any one recommendation, is just ditch dairy. Like, it's not good for you. But don't shame people into it. You know, it's like, oh, you used to be vegetarian. It's like, find out why were they interested in the first place? Why did they leave the club and start eating meat again? Help get them motivated to get back into it and offer tips and support and stuff like that. But don't shame them. They're people. You know, and during COVID, a lot of things were weird. And the political situation, it was weird. A lot of people just wanted to get back into comfort foods. So, in any case, that is the big part of it. I have a few minutes for, what do you say, do we have a few minutes for open Q&A here? So I'm putting the main reasons people stop being vegetarian back up on the screen. There's also the backup one. And welcome any questions. You know, if you have a friend that's already slipping, what's going on with them? You know? So, anyone want to volunteer anything? Yeah. I'll repeat the question. Yeah.
What's the role of habit? We see a lot of people who it's just so much of a habit.
Okay. So his question is about habits, you know, and how do you break habits, and what's the role of habits in it? So habits, there's a lot of books and studies that say there's something magical about 21 days. You can form new habits. If you give something 3 weeks, you can form new habits. On something like cooking and things like that, it's possible. You can do that, but you got to give it that 3 weeks there. One thing with regards to food, and that's with anything, that's like, you know, like remembering to put your keys in a certain place. Do it for 3 weeks, every day, boom, it'll start to stick. And 3 weeks is good. The good thing about food and our taste buds is that our taste buds, we have about 10 to 15,000 taste buds. Do you know how often they regenerate? Every 10 days. Every 10 days, you get all your taste buds are gone and there's new ones there. It's constantly recycling. So the beauty of, you're going, I got to try to cut down on salt. Well, I'm a saltaholic personally, you know, but you know, if I wanted to cut down on salt, if I just did it for about 10 days, start cutting down, I'd have a whole new set of taste buds in 10 days to 2 weeks that are now used to less salty food. I can do that, right? Now that's just salt. Giving up meat could be a lot harder than a little bit of salt for a lot of people. But again, if you give it 3 weeks, there is something magic about that 20, 21 day thing for breaking habits and forming new ones. And just remember that taste buds turn over every 10 days. And so you can develop tastes for foods in a couple weeks' time just by trying them and getting used to them and getting used to not eating the fatty, greasy burger or whatever your old meat thing is that you liked. I mean, that stuff tasted great, back then. I used to eat it, too. Not anymore, but, the stuff was great then when I didn't know better. Right? Well, most of your friends and family, 95% of the United States is in that club, right? Where they just eat because it tastes good and it's what their family taught them. And, here's a funny one on this, too. Just a lot of people don't like being told what to eat. Right? I don't like being told, but no one does. And here's the funny thing. Your whole life, you've been told what to eat. In fact, you were even told what to eat before you could even choose what you were going to eat. So, you grew up for years, you were fed certain food and certain lies about food and stories about food. So now you're all upset. Oh, don't tell me what to eat. Dude, it's been happening your whole life. And you flip on any football game and look at all the ads for Pizza Hut and this. People are still trying to tell you what to eat. So, any other questions? What's that?
It does a body good.
Oh, it does a body good. Milk. Yeah, they're not so old. The milk ads, Dairy Council gets a ton of money from the government, work together with the USDA. They still have posters like of The Rock in schools that say milk does a body good with a big movie star or something. And it's still like mandated that you got to have these posters up. For my wife's a school teacher. At the school, the cafeteria, kids have to take a milk, even if they're lactose normal. Or they call it lactose intolerant, but that's actually normal. Lactose, most of the world, 3 out of 5 people in the world don't process lactose, right? Lactose anymore because they're not a baby and they're not a baby calf, right? But they're there. So most people can't take it, but kids have to take milk. So you go to the end of the lunch hour, you look in the garbage can, there's 70 things of unopened milk in there. But it keeps the milk producers busy and the dairy producers busy and the USDA happy. Even though the kids don't drink it, so. Yeah, power money. Anything else? How are we doing our time? We've got a few more minutes here. 3-4 minutes. Anything else? Yeah.
This is more of a comment, I guess, than a question, but then you can address this. You talked earlier about one of the main reasons that people drop being vegans is convenience.
Right, convenience, yeah.
Well, to me, it seems like a vicious cycle because there's so many stores out there, they don't offer that stuff in the first place.
Right.
And do you have any idea how we can break
Because he was talking about the convenience angle. A lot of people, give up on the veg diet because they just can't find the foods they want. It's in the local store, they have to drive a long way. It's an issue. Well, the thing is, the more that people do buy it, the more the stores will carry it. The more that you buy it, they'll go, we got to buy more inventory to replenish it. It's simply supply and demand. And they'll also listen to you. Like if you have a local market that doesn't carry a special, I like this. There's a vegan mayonnaise called mayonnaise. I love it. I'm a big mayo fan. So the thing, a local store didn't carry it. So you just write a little note to the owner or the manager, and they tend to start carrying it. So if you want to save yourself a big drive, just write a note to the store for any special items. Order a case of it in advance. But the hassle is it's real, there. But it's not just finding stuff at stores. The inconvenience thing is also like the uncomfortable. You're at an office function or a church function or whatever, and they don't have anything there, or a wedding, and they don't have anything you can eat. But you're the outsider, you're the veg, and so the whole world's not going to bend around to your needs. So eat before you get there, or bring something with you. Be smart about it. So yes, question.
Make the vegan option the default option. So if you want something not vegan, you have to pay the second cent.
Right. So she's bringing up this initiative, this movement in New York State. They're doing this, and in New York, all the hospital systems in New York City are making plant-based the default option. So vegan and veggie, especially you're in a hospital, for heaven's sake. why would they give you bacon or something that's going to make you sick and contribute to disease? So they make plant-based, and Kaiser is doing more of this as well. Some schools are going to eventually get there, but the thing is, if plant-based is the default, and yeah, you can request a meat dish or fish dish or just meat on the side, but it like 2/3 of people, over 60% of people will go with the default option. So if you make plant-based vegan food the default option is the first thing, 60% of people will go with it. And as long as it's a good dish, they'll go, hey, that wasn't half bad. Right? So having it as the default is really powerful, and they are trying to do it in certain schools, hospitals, anywhere else that are health-oriented, health-concerned. I hope you probably have some friends that have already slipped, and I'm not sure what it is, but you can help them back in, but don't shame them. They're not assholes. They weren't assholes before, they're not assholes now. They're, be nice to them, help them. And that's another thing. Like a lot of people, their eating is just a diet. It's not their identity. Like I go, I'm vegan. Okay, but I'm also a few other things. I'm a musician. I'm a dad. I'm a bunch of stuff, right? So for a lot of people, it's just how they eat. So it's not as huge a deal, So don't shame them just for that. Yeah.
Reading about the blue zone. If you would correlate maybe the blue zone statistically with the vegetarian diet, is it high in there?
Yeah. He was bringing up the blue zones. Have any of you seen the new Netflix documentary called Living to 100? Living to 100 on Netflix. It's about all the blues. It just came out a few months ago. It's about the blue zones, those places around the world where there's more people that live to 100 than all the surrounding areas. And the key thing that these people do is they eat mostly, a whole food, plant-based diet is the staple. They eat either very little meat or none at all. But they also have like good friendships and community. They also exercise and spend time in the garden. So it's not 100% just their diet that makes them live long. They got to live healthy. They got to have a good attitude. You got to have friends and be part of the community. But if you have not seen that documentary, it's a really good one. I think it's a 4-part or 5-part series on Netflix about blue zones. And yeah, diet and having a mostly plant-based diet is a huge role if you want to live long. But I would also say live well and live healthy. All right, so if you want to avoid disease, be good. Just avoid the stuff that's toxic, like dead animals. All right, so we're at the time. So if anyone have any one-on-one questions, or you want to grab the How to Get Vegan book, has a How to Go Vegan right there, little green table right behind you, right there. And we're also promoting the documentary Eating Our Way to Extinction, which is a free documentary on YouTube. And Eating Our Way to Extinction is about the environmental impact of our animal agriculture system on the environment. And it's with 8 billion people trying to fill that. It's weird because we're currently feeding 80 billion animals. Well, it's only 8 billion people in the world, but we're feeding 80 billion animals. And so they make a lot of poop too, and a lot of things like that. So it's not a good equation. Okay, great documentary. We're promoting that over there. And if you have any more questions, again, my name's Jan Liband, and I'll be right there afterward. So thanks for coming out today. This is it. All right.